Good day everyone. Welcome to the sixth topic of our IT 11 course. This is Matrix Operations and Applications. Before we dig into our topic, let's have a short recap. Last time, we have talked about systems of linear equation where you have learned to solve systems of linear equation using elimination method and substitution method. Also, you have learned how to represent them in a graphical form. And you have learned how to solve its real-world applications by solving word problems. So now, let's talk about matrix. A matrix is a rectangular arrangement of numbers in rows and columns. For example, matrix A below has 2 rows and 3 columns. The dimensions of a matrix with m rows and n columns are m times n, read as m by n. So, the dimension of a matrix A are 2 by 3. The numbers in a matrix are its element. Okay, so we have here an example. Again, the row is indicated by M. That is why it's called M rows, or if we will read it, it's M by N. And the column is denoted as N. So, all of the numbers inside the matrix are called elements. Okay. So, the dimension is the number of row and column. So, say for example, this matrix has a dimension of 2 by 3. Since we have 2 rows and 3 columns. Okay? So, this is the row or M. And this is the N, the column. 2 matrices are equal if their dimensions are the same and the elements in corresponding positions are equal. Let's proceed to the operations on matrices. So, let's learn how to add and subtract matrices. To add or subtract 2 matrices, simply add or subtract the elements in the corresponding positions. You can add or subtract matrices only, okay, take note, only if they have the same dimension. So, dili ta allowed mag-add og subtract kung dili sila parehas og dimension. So, say for example, na ko'y matrix nga, matrix 2 has a 3 by 2 dimension, right? And this one is a 2 by 2 dimension. This is 3 by 2. So, according to the definition, you cannot add or you can only add or subtract matrices only if they have the same dimension. So, in this case, if ingon ani ang inyong makita class, you cannot add or subtract that matrix. Okay, so how do we add or subtract matrices? So, by adding matrices, all you have to do is add the first element in the first row, just like this one. And then, add again the second element in the first row, second column. Same ra pod sa pikas. I-add pod nimo ang second row, first column. Mo ni siya. And second row, second column. Mo na siya. And then, imo na dayon siyang i-evaluate. Same thing ra gihapon diri asa pag-subtract. Okay? So, imon din ang i-plus or minus. Okay, let's proceed to the properties of matrix operations. We have the associative, the commutative, the distributive property of addition, and distributive property of subtraction. Yun mo siya. As well as a subtraction. Okay, let's have this example. So, i-plus na to si matrix, kaning first matrix, kang second matrix. Nara ang iyang operation. So, how do we do this? But first, let us identify unsa may dimension ani. The dimension of the first matrix is 2 by 3. Since na siya duha ka row and 3 ka column. The same thing with matrix number 2, which is 2 by 3 gihapon. So therefore, we can add these 2 matrices. So how do we do this? Okay. Just simply pair this up with this first element, first row, first column element in first matrix and in the second matrix. So that will be 2 plus negative 3. Okay, next, 5 and 1. So, just leave a space class ha para dili libog kung mag-evaluate na mo. 5 plus 1 and then 11 plus negative 5. 11 plus negative 5. Okay, 4 and 2. 4 plus negative 2. Next is negative 6 plus negative 8. Don't forget to write a parenthesis ha. Kung magtapad na gani ang sign, always put a parenthesis. Next, 8 plus 4. And then, put a square bracket. So, let's evaluate. That will be negative 5. And then, next is 6. Next is still 6. And then, we have 2, negative 14, and 12. So, that will be your final answer. Let's take a look at the second example. By looking at it, you will know na parehas sila og dimension. Therefore, we can proceed with subtraction. Sige, how do we subtract this one? Just pair this up. No, si first element sa first element pod nga nasa first row, first column. At the same time, diri pod yung first row, first column nga element. And then this one and this one. Ang ato ang operation is now subtraction. Ayaw na kalimti or bantayin na ninyo. Minus 2. Next is 7 minus negative 3. 7 minus negative 3. Next, we have negative 2 minus 0. Last, we have negative 3 minus 5. And 1 minus negative 14. Okay, evaluate lang na to. So, negative 4 minus 2 is just negative 6. This is negative 2. And then, that will be 10. Negative 2 gihapon. This one is negative 8. And then 15. Okay, that is your final answer. Okay, how about this one? So, multiplication na po siya, no? You have to use distributive property. So, kung ingon ani ang dagway, you have to distribute this element into every element sa sulod sa imong matrix. I mean, i-distribute mo nga constant sa tanan element sa imong matrix. Okay. Simple lagi hapon. Inyo lagi hapon ang i-pair up siya sa tanan. Master na ninyo. So, 8. First, no? Sunod, 4. Sunod, 12. Positive. Negative man silang duha. So, 28. Kini, negative 24 since opposite silang sign. Sunod, negative 4. Sunod, positive 8. And then 0, lastly, is positive 20 since para sa. And that will be your final answer. Okay, easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Okay, next. Again, i-plus lang na to ang ato ang duha ka matrix. And still, we can do this kay pares sila dimension. Ma'am, what if di sila pares og dimension? Unsa man akong buhaton? Pasag di ira. Ayaw na siya hilabti, or you can explain or put an explanation na these matrices cannot be added or subtracted to each other because they don't have the same dimension. Oh, ana lang pag-explain. Okay, notice that we have a constant outside. So, ato sa ning unahon og distribute in each of the element o sa ta mag-plus. Distributive property ha nga kuan concept. So, unahon sa nato siya para dili ta maglibog. Okay, so 3 times 4, 3 times negative 1, 3 times negative 3, 3 times 5, plus 2, 2, 0, 6. That would be 12, negative 3, negative 9, negative 15, plus negative 2, 0, 6. 12 plus negative 2, 9 plus 0, negative 3 plus negative 2, negative 15 plus 6. Dili na lang napaisulat ha, kaya wala na tayo space. That would be 10, negative 5, negative 9, and negative 9. So, that will be your final answer. Okay, let's proceed with the word problem or the real-world application. How do we apply this matrix concepts sa tinuod nga kinabuhi? Okay, let's read the problem. A company manufactures small and large steel DVD racks with wooden bases. Each of the rack is available in 3 types of wood: walnut, the pine, and the cherry. Sales of the racks for last month and this month are shown below. Okay, so muna siya ang sales niya for each of the racks. For the small racks, muna ang sale last month, and then this month, and so on. Okay? And so on. So, for the large rack sales, we have this for the last month, for this month, and so on. Okay. Organize the data using 2 matrices, one for last month's sales, and one for this month's sales. Then write and interpret a matrix giving the average monthly sales for the 2-month period. Okay, so let's arrange first our matrix. So, ato na siyang i-write in a form of matrix. Sige. For the last month, ato siyang i-organize. For the last month sale, for the small and large, okay, focus lang sa last month sale. So, we have here 125, 278, and 225. Next, we have 100 for the large sale. Again, this is for the last month, 251 and 270. Okay, for this month's sale, for small and large, okay, notice the question. Then write and interpret a matrix giving the average monthly sales for the 2-month period. So, technically, we will add this one. So, plus, okay, write gihapon nato ang this month's sale, no? Which is, the first one, we have small. For the small is 95, 316, and 205. For the large rack, we have 114, 215, and 300. Okay, ano ko diri, oh. So, let us total this one. So, imo siyang i-add, no? So, 125 plus 95 is 200. Ako na lang idiretsyo sulat diri class ha, kay wala namang go space. 200. And then, 278 plus 316 is 594. 255 plus 205 is 430. Next, we have 100 plus 114 is 214. 251 plus 215 is 466. Lastly, we have 270 plus 300 is 570. Okay. So, let us divide each of this element by 2 since ang gipangutana is average man. And we, di ba, atong nabalaan pag average is imo plus tanan ng element divided by how many man pod si element. In this case, how many matrices atong gi-add. So, 2 raman. So, let's divide it by 2 since average man ang gipangayo. So, i-divide na to siya each by 2. Ay, sorry. This is 220. Dili na ko sorry, namali ko and add. That is 220. Okay. So, if we will divide it by 2, that will be 110. And then, si 594 would be 267. 430 would be 215. 214 would be 107. 466 would be 233. And lastly, 570 will be 295. Okay. So therefore, the average of monthly sale for 2 months is this one. That will be your final answer. So, just show the solution para makuha ninyo ang complete nga score. So, muna ni inyong final nga answer. Okay, so simple ra kaayo, no? All you have to do is to be familiar with how should it be arranged. Kung nakabantay mo ang pag-arrange na to, giuna na to ang last month sale and then we arrange them by how it is arranged ra po dira. So giuna lang na to si small and then si large sa last month sale, which is this row. Sunod sa this month sale kani i-arrange lang po nato siya as is. So mura na siya, simple ra kaayo. And then don't forget to write your conclusion na in a word form nga. This will be the average of the monthly sale for 2 months. So muna na yung answer. Okay, this time let's talk about multiplying matrices. The product of two matrices A and B is defined provided the number columns of A is equal to the number of rows in B. Okay, take note of that one. Take a look at this example. We can only multiply two matrices if they're provided the number of columns in A, which is this one, muna yung column ni A, is equal to the number of rows ni B. Ang mahimong dimension nimo sa iyahang rows. Tura man iyang rows kani kay 1 ra iyahang column is equal to 1. So munang 2 by 1 ang ato ang dimension. State whether the product AB is defined. If so, give the dimensions of AB. So for example, kani siya sa letter A, si matrix A daw kay na ay 4 ka rows and then 3 ka column. Si B, matrix B kay na ay 3 ka rows and then 2 ka column. Pwede na to siya i-multiply because this is equal. Kani iyang row, iyang column kang matrix A and then ang row niya kang matrix B. And this one will be our dimension. Our dimension will be 4 by 2 kung ato na siyang i-multiply. Gets ba ninyo? Sige, another one, letter B. So, this time, notice that ang column ni A o ang rows ni B, matrix B, kay dili equal. So, because the number of columns in A is 4, which is not equal to the number of rows in B, 3, the product will be undefined or not defined. Because again, dili equal ang column ni A sa rows ni B. You can only multiply if ang number sa columns ni matrix A kay equal sa number of rows ni matrix B. To find the element in ith row and jth column of the product matrix AB, multiply each element in the ith row of A by the corresponding element in the jth column of B, then add the products. Na siya medyo challenging. Since imuha mang i-multiply ang row ni A sa column ni B by pair. Okay, let's take a look at this example. Before ka mo proceed to multiplying, dapat lang mo sang identify ang iyahang dimension. 2 by 2, 2 by 2, since parehas naman sila. 2 ang row, 2 po ang columns. So, imo lang tawon is kani. Ang column ni A kung equal ba sa row ni B. Kung parehas, check. Okay, pwede na ka mo proceed and then kaning row ni A o column ni B will be your dimension. That would be 2 by 2. Sige, pwede na tayo magpadayon. Okay, if dili sila equal, ayaw na pag-proceed. So, remember that the first row of A will be multiplied to the first column of B. So this will be the first row of A multiply to the first column of B and then add. So, sama na idagway ana. That would be 1 times 5 plus 4 times 9. Okay. Next, sunod na pod is same ra gyapon nga row, kanina pod nga column. So, that would be 1 times negative 7 plus 4 times 6. Okay. Next, kanina pod nga row, pares sa kaninga column. So, that would be 3 times 5 plus negative 2 times 9. Okay. Kana gihapon nga kuan row times the second column. Kini gihapon nga row times the second column. So that would be 3 times 7 plus 2 times 6. Okay. So ato na siyang i-evaluate. So ang pag-plaster lang jud niya mo medyo challenging no. So i-master lang jud ninyo kung unsaon siya pagpares-pares og pag-plaster, and then kung ma-okay na siya, pwede na jud ka mo proceed no. Sayon na lang dayon siya. 1 times 5 is just 5. 4 times 9 is 36. Sunod, 15 plus negative 18. And then, negative 7 plus 24. Negative 21 dayon plus negative 12. Okay. So, evaluate lang nimo. 5 plus 36 is 41. Kani, negative 3. Kana, 17. And then, kani, negative 33. So, that would be your final answer. Okay, that's it for matrices and its operations. Next topic, we will be talking about determinants and Cramer's rule. So, what is a determinant? How can we find a determinant? And what is this Cramer's rule method? And then, how can we use this determinant to solve a system of linear equations? I hope you will maximize your time in reviewing and, of course, answer the quiz assignment that I have assigned to you so that dili mabugatan no inig quiz nato. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe out there. I will see you next meeting. Bye!